We'll do a wrap of the performance of Gilas Pilipinas in the FIBA World Cup qualifiers.
We'll also talk about the top performing imports in the ongoing PBA Governors Cup. And we'll hear from the newest edition of the FIBA World Cup Global Ambassadors, Carmelo Anthony. Buckle up, sports fans. Let's get in the game. Well, it's a wrap for Gilas Pilipinas as they end the FIBA World Cup Asian qualifiers with a loss against Jordan 90-91. Now let's talk more about the campaign of Gilas Pilipinas in the sixth and final window with Coach Jeff Carriazo. Coach Jeff, how are you doing?
Hi,
Good.
Coach Jeff.
Doing well. Hi, pal. How, Diego?
You know, Coach, if you haven't heard about Gilas Pilipinas the past week or so, you've been living under a rock. Because incredible performances, incredible drama in particular. You take a look at this entire window. What do you feel is your biggest takeaway from everything you've heard and everything that you've experienced just following these guys?
Well, first and foremost, what's evident is really just the confidence. I think the confidence is sky high right now, especially coming off from the big win against Lebanon. Making the game close against Jordan. Big comeback. So I think when you play in games like that, and their success, that really ups your level of confidence.
Now, talking about confidence, this guy is probably not lacking on confidence. Let's talk about Justin Brownlee. I mean, what a debut for this guy. Just showed the puso that, Filipinos love inside that basketball court. I mean, talk about this guy. You've coached against him in the PBA as well.
Just an amazing player. Justin had 41, 12, and 3, and what a stud is all I can say. So are we surprised that he's bringing that? Even in the Gilas level, I'm not, and I'm sure a lot of the players are not, or the Philippines in general aren't,
Right.
So that's the reason why he's showing why we got him to play for us.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that, he's so comfortable playing in Philippine Arena anyway because Barangay Ginebra never loses
I think
in the
he's
Philippine Arena.
undefeated in the Philippines.
Well, until today, until yesterday, unfortunately.
41 points, 12 rebounds. I mean, what a takeover for Justin Brownlee.
Yeah, and you know what? A lot of people, though, would be focusing on the end game. Again, Gilas Pilipinas coming from 25 points down. Scottie Thompson missing a couple of crucial free throws. Coach Tim Cohn went out to defend him online on social media. A lot of hoopers would actually do the same thing.
Right.
And you have an interesting connection here because back in the day, some people referenced it. Coach Olsen Rosella missing crucial free throws, also playing for the national team.
Right.
And you were his roommate. You were there on the court when it happened. If you had a chance to talk to Scottie right now after those 2 free throws, or if you were a teammate of him, how would you go rally around and support the guy?
I mean, I'd tell him it happens. It's part of basketball. First and foremost, for everyone to understand, of course he did not want to miss that, right? And it just happens to the best of them. And, we're referring to the situation with Coach Olsen Rosella in 2002. Same thing I told him. We were up late that night, and I was just reminding him, it's part of basketball. You win, you lose, you make some, you miss some.
Right.
And tonight we did, and I would say that exact same thing to Scottie. Just stay confident, keep playing. You know the player that you are, and just, learn and build from that.
I mean, he's also the reason why we came back from 25 points down.
Yeah, one of them, yeah.
I mean, against Lebanon, Coach Tim mentioned, you got to look at the positives. He rebounded the ball well, he defended well.
Right.
And talking about the positives, on the other hand, Jamie Malonzo had amazing games for Gilas Pilipinas. Had 11 points against Jordan, and against Lebanon, he had 15 points.
Yeah.
Talk about Jamie. He's a young player, young star in the PBA, now representing the Philippines, Coach Jeff.
I'm loving how he's just developing and leveling up every single game, it seems like. you
Yeah.
know. And for him to be able to do this at the big stage, for Gilas Pilipinas, and playing good minutes, and again, playing both ends like what he's showcasing in PBA, tremendous player, and he's only going to get better.
This feels like everything we're seeing right now from the players, everything is on audition, obviously going to the FIBA Basketball World Cup. And when you look at our performances, what do you want to see more of for this Gilas Pilipinas team, especially on the lead into the World Cup?
Well, I just want to say, I hope that they get the proper time to prepare, like I'm sure Coach Short wants, Coach Tim wants, because that's really it. Just give this team, this core, this unit, and of course you'll have several on reserve just in case, but give them time to prepare, and I hope they do. They're only going to get better. Experience will do that. Time will do that.
And lastly, Coach, just to finish this, I mean, you've played both in the professional level and also in the international level. I mean, what's the main difference that you're seeing now with the international basketball and local basketball, Coach Jeff?
There's no game that you can relax. I mean, in the international level, every game is a tough game, and you're playing normally against the best players of that particular country.
Well, definitely. And we'll still have you, Coach Jeff, after the break, because when we return, we'll break down the list of the top performing imports in the ongoing PBA Governors Cup. Stay tuned. You're watching The Game. Welcome back to The Game. With less than a month left in the PBA Governors Cup elimination round, it's time to take a look at the top performing imports around the league. Still with us to give his picks is PBA Rush analyst, of course, Coach Jeff. This conference, we've seen a lot of high-scoring imports, and I mean, you've lived it. You've been in the PBA, you played, and you also coached in the PBA. I just want to pick your brain. When choosing an import, do you just go for the best talent, or like what goes on in your brain when choosing an import, Coach Jeff?
Well, I think it's a combination of both.
Yep.
You know, you want to try to get the best talent available,
Right.
but you also want to get someone that fits your team. So understanding the composition of your team is crucial. What you need at the time. You know, if you feel like he's going to work well with the current roster that you have, and of course you got to be able to perform. So you know that's number one.
You know, it's also talking about fit. TNT were one of the teams that actually did an import change. They didn't have to,
Right.
but they did. They upgraded to a guy that you were very impressed with, Rondae Hollis Jefferson.
Right.
What is so amazing about him? And of course, in your mind, is he as good as advertised? Because we all know NBA caliber player coming here to the Philippines,
Right.
doing what he does.
Right. Yes, he is. So I think they, you know, upgraded, you know, wonderfully, because coming off of a guy like Hudson, I
Right.
think he was, again, him being a little smaller, he replicates a lot of the guards that they already have.
Right.
To have a Rondae Hollis Jefferson there, it gives you more length, more height, and he allows those other three that you need to play, in Jason and Pogoy and Mikey, you need those guys on the court to play with him. So I think that's why it was a perfect fit.
I mean, Rondae played 6 years in the NBA, 6 seasons rather, and now he's averaging 30 points, 12 rebounds, and 7 assists in the PBA, doing a little bit of everything, Coach. I mean, when you take a look at NBA talent, How well does that translate to the PBA game with all the imports that you've seen playing in the PBA, Coach?
With Jefferson particularly, why it's crucial and why it's so I guess nice in that regard is because he played in the NBA currently. It wasn't long ago. So, it's just unfortunate, we don't know exactly what happened. But obviously, he played just a couple years ago. I'm always looking at him in my fantasy. So I know he's there. So to play and be able to come here, he's going to be a stud. So it just takes a matter of time. And like I said, he only played 3 games, but he's improving game in and game out.
Now, he had a game, unfortunately for him, he was outplayed by this guy, Cameron Clark of the San Miguel Beermen. Cameron Clark, he is the type of import that that he's there not just because of talent, but because he has to fit. And he fits in well with San Miguel team.
Right, he really does. So I covered a couple of his games, and I call him the perfect import for San Miguel and what they need. Why do I say that? I say that because obviously you got to be able to have an import that plays well with Junmar and all the wonderful shooters that they have in San Miguel, right? The endless shooters that they have. So I've seen him, in games where he doesn't even touch the ball. But what's he doing? He's rebounding, he's running the floor, he's boxing out, he's defending. And I'm really impressed with how he defended Jefferson in that game against Talking Tex. So he has a knack and the heart to play both ends. But can he score amongst the best of them? Of course. When you need him to, and you're relying on him to give you 2 points, it's a close game, he's someone you can go to.
28.9 points per game, as well as 10.4 rebounds and 3.5 assists for Cameron Clark so far this conference.
I mean, when you talk about Cameron Clark, Coach, just another quick question for Cameron. He's a great defender. And with a team like San Miguel, how important is that if they want to win a championship this season, Coach?
It's really important. And when I say him being a good defender, it's not just locking up the other import on the other side. It's him being able to switch on ball screens and being able to stay in front of the wonderful, guards that we have in our league. So to be able to do that is a big change from a Junmar where they're worrying about, what to do when Junmar's man sets a ball screen. So he's all over the place and he's really a big help for them.
Jamal Franklin of the Converge Fiber Xers leads the league in terms of scoring for all the imports. He scores 34.9 points per game in a team that has the most high-octane offense that anyone could ever imagine on a PBA hard court. Now, 70% of his shots, Coach, come from the perimeter.
Right.
Is it a surprise, one? And number two, just how specialized of an import do you need to have if you're Coach Alden Ayo? Because you require so much running, so much movement in your team.
Right. So I think why he's also a good fit for them, and they made that change after that 2 games,
Yeah.
is because this guy can do 2 things. He can shoot the ball, right? And he's quick down the court. So those are his 2 strengths. So one thing about him that I'm impressed about is he's making shots from the 3-point line, beyond the 3-point line, with a challenge. So that's tough. That's hard to defend. So that teams are paying attention to him. And Phoenix did a good job in kind of, keeping a guy on him that last game.
Yeah.
But again, why Franklin is and why Converge is doing so well this conference is really because him just really carrying the load alongside, Maverick and me.
Right. I mean, I remember one game, I think he shot more than 20 threes, attempted more than 20 threes, and that just goes to show, I mean, this
he has the green light.
Team, he has the green light, and they just live and die by the 3. But talking about Jamal Franklin, how different is he compared to Cameron Clark that you mentioned that he just gels well with the team? Right. Jamal Franklin's a totally different import compared to him.
To be honest with you, I think Jamal Franklin is really just that pure shooter. And he could do that, I guess, probably the best amongst all the imports. So now the challenge for him, especially going into the next few games and going into the playoffs, is are you going to be able to defend, right, just like a Cameron Clark? Right. Because when you compare those 2, it seems like Clark has more length, right, a little bit more athleticism, right, and a little bit more built. It seems like that's fair to say. So if they can figure that out, then I don't see why they can keep going.
We now move on to the honorable mention segment. So if your favorite import isn't here, it's probably going to be in this segment. All right. So we're going to start off with, I'm going to assume, majority's favorite, Justin Brownlee. Again, Barangay Ginebra have had a weird schedule because of the long break, because of the
FIBA
rather
break.
late start. The late start they had in conference because playing the finals.
Right.
The Gilas break, and of course the fact that it feels like they're splitting time. A lot of Ginebra players were actually doing Gilas duty as well,
Right.
and their import
Coach.
Justin Brownlee
Right.
is also splitting time. How impressed are you by the fact that he's still putting up numbers despite the busy schedule
Right.
and despite everything being compact here for Barangay Ginebra?
So one thing to remember is Ginebra has played 3 less games than everybody else. So at the end, when it's all said and done, at the end of the elimination, he's going to be one of your top imports. He's going to be there with his averages, and you can expect Ginebra to again contend for that top 4 spot. Are we surprised? Of course not. One thing about Justin is he's consistent, he's a hard worker, and he knows Philippine basketball.
Yeah, and of course, another guy mentioned here in honorable mentions is this guy's teammate, KJ McDaniels. Coach,
See
I'll
that
ask
guy
him
every
about
day.
it because he probably knows more in general. A lot of people saying, Jegs, that KJ looks more fit this time around compared to his last tour. I know the last tour was a bit of a late addition and he only had a couple of games in, but then you work with him right now. How is he? And of course, he seems to be a guy really at home here with Philippine basketball.
I mean, talking about being a great fit, I think he's a great fit for our team as well. He's a leader first and foremost. He's in the gym earlier than everyone does his work, and that just goes to show, how good of an example KJ is. He's in good shape, as you mentioned, Pao, coming into this conference, and he knows Philippine basketball already.
Yeah.
He played for different teams, NLEX, for TNT, and now for Meralco, and he's just going to continue what he's doing this conference.
And of course, the last one's Antonio Hester, and unfortunately, we don't have enough time to talk about him. But then, still, the change that he made coming into the Pure Foods franchise really made a big difference, and you can see it on the record. Now, the PBA Governors Cup action continues tomorrow with a doubleheader at the Smart Araneta Coliseum. The Rain and Shine Alaska Painters will look for their 3rd win against the Phoenix Fuelmasters at 3 p.m. After that, it's a showdown between the 5th and 6th seeds as the San Miguel Beermen face off against the Meralco Bolts at 5:45 p.m. You can catch that live on One Sports, TV5, and on PBA Rush and Signal TV. Of course, that was Coach Jeff Carriazo. Really appreciate the time, Coach, and we can't wait to talk to you again more.
Thanks, Coach.
No problem. Thank you.
And after the break, we'll find out the new role Carmelo Anthony is taking as one of the FIBA's global ambassadors for the 2023 FIBA World Cup. Stay tuned. You're watching the game. Well, the final window of the FIBA Basketball World Cup qualifiers is over, which means the next biggest basketball event is up next. The 2023 FIBA Basketball World Cup is fast approaching, and they added another superstar to its name, to one of its roster spots of ambassadors. We sat down with Carmelo Anthony for an exclusive interview about his newest role as a FIBA World Cup Global Ambassador. Let's watch this. Now joining us right now is Carmelo Anthony, a FIBA Basketball World Cup Global Ambassador. That's a great title to have, isn't it?
Sounds good.
Especially you coming in after a good friend of yours, Kobe Bryant, you coming in right now in the Philippines, trying to really soak in all the culture. How does that role feel for you?
It's it makes me think. It's definitely an opportunity for me to, continue to learn and understand other places outside of America, and getting entrenched into other people's culture and conversation from the standpoint of listening as opposed to speaking and learning.
And of course, we're here right now at the Smart Arena Coliseum, which is having its 60th year anniversary. Sterling Manila was here. Kobe Bryant's banner, his mural was hanging up there. You saw it a while ago. And of course, this is going to be one of the venues for the FIBA Basketball World Cup. And with the history coming together with the future of basketball, just talk a bit about just how everything just comes together in a global event like the FIBA Basketball World Cup.
Yeah, well, I think it was definitely needed for this event to happen in the way it's happening, it's unfolding. It's very rare that you get three nations coming together for one cause, right? And being able to communicate and work things out and talk about what's the greater good for this opportunity for everybody, as opposed to being very individualistic. And I think when you have that mentality where you can go out and reach a hand out and say, hey, do you want to be a part of this with us? It sends a different and a louder message to the rest of the world.
The passion's different when you talk about international basketball, isn't it? It's different when you're playing for a city compared to when you're playing for a country. And I'm sure for Team USA traveling, I'm sure you've experienced that. Yeah,
when you're playing for a city, it's a lot different. Like that's your fan base. That city is your fan base. When you're playing for a country, the whole country is supporting you. It's not about any other team. It's not about any other NBA team. This is about USA basketball going out there trying to win a gold medal, and with that sense of pride, and going out there and really being the face out there and saying this is who we are.
In the promo video, you did mention that Greece kind of still gives you nightmares when you look at what you went through.
I kind of got it's not a nightmare no more, but I still think about it.
Yeah, and of course, there's a lot of success that happened throughout your career. When you look back at your international career representing the United States, just what kind of a special place does that have in your life personally?
For me, my journey was different when it comes to USA basketball, because I've lost, right? I've lost in the 2004 Olympics in Athens, and I've lost in 2006 in Japan to Greece, and we had to really build it back up, right, and really get the attention of the rest of the world, and make people understand like this is what we do. Like we're supposed to be the best of the best that's out there. So why not we perform? Why are we not performing like that? So I think after 06 and just restructuring, what Team USA as we all know it today is, we needed that. I didn't want to have to deal with it at that point in time, but looking back at it, I think we needed that in order to really understand, like, yes, we say we're the best, but the rest of the world is actually, doing what they're supposed to do to kind of close that gap.
Melo, we really appreciate the time again. Your quick message to all the Filipino fans out there, because they're all excited to watch the FIBA Basketball World Cup, and of course, catch a glimpse of you once you come into the games.
Yeah, man, I just want to say thank you guys for allowing me to come here and just be a part of you guys' culture. I understand how important the game of basketball is, and my goal is to continue to grow the game of basketball on a global standpoint. On top of that, this is one of my biggest fan bases in one of my biggest markets when it comes to people who love Melo. And I just want to say thank you guys. I appreciate you guys. Please watch the World Cup. I'll be there. My friends will be there, and we're going to enjoy this together. Peace.
That was an exclusive interview with NBA star and FIBA ambassador Carmelo Anthony with this guy, my partner. Eh? That's it for tonight. Thank you for joining us. I'm Diego Dario.
That's right, I'm not talking to you anymore, Jake. I'm only talking to guys like Melo from now on. Catch us weeknights here on One News, One Sports, and One Sports Plus. I'm Paolo Del Rosario, and this has been The Game.